Epox. You like a little epox.
Yeah, oh, that, okay, yes. Do you want me to introduce you?
I was gonna have Robin introduce me because I
Oh,
want to introduce
okay. Let me go grab her.
It's here.
You beatbox till I go grab her, okay?
Yeah.
Robin Nichols.
It's pretty good. Yeah, I learned from like when I was in baseball, when I was young, we had the Princess of Guam stayed at our house. We were hosting the All-Stars.
Josh requested the Robin Eccles intro. This
Yeah,
was a
sweet.
request.
And they taught me how to do that back like 13.
This is our first sponsor today.
Yeah. And that's all I know. That's all I learned. But that was back before we.
Okay. Anything for Josh Stern, she said.
Yes.
Yeah, always. We have a Monday. Good afternoon. How is everyone?
Yeah.
We're in for a treat today. Thank you for being here for today's class. Josh Stern, of anybody that I know, and so I'm going to go out on a limb and say anybody at least in the Salt Lake area, is the person who has followed the millionaire real estate model to the T and created the success that that model shares that is available to you. And I think a lot of times people start out with a great intention of doing the model, and then they get creative and bring their own ideas in and go off course, and their career becomes a series of going on model and having success, and then going off and then course correcting, and then going off and then course correcting. And Josh really did it by the book, quite literally. And because of that, he has sold more than 3,000 properties in his career. He grew a thriving team. He was able to sell that team and retire. And retirement lasted all of a year.
Yeah, sure.
About a year. And then like so many people of this personality type and this kind of drive, he was ready for the next challenge and the next project. So he came back and graciously started working to build the Utah Roost high performance program, which is again based on. And so now Josh is here sharing this model and really how to execute and implement these strategies in your own business. And then Kimber, who is the greatest mind around me as far as marketing and technology, and really what Kimber brings to the equation is that so often people are great with marketing or great with tech, but then we have to like filter that through and translate it to how it works in real estate terms. And you can have great marketing pieces or great marketing strategies that just don't make sense for a real estate business. Because Kimber is also a producing agent and understands agents, speaks agent, is agent, and she's able to handle that translation process for us. And so her campaigns just work. And so together you've got Josh putting together the strategy, someone who has executed on this at a high level, Kimber providing all of the back end marketing and tech that needs, and it creates just a really beautiful success story. So thank you, Josh, for being here to share the success story with us and let all of these fine folks get on their own way to their own success.
All right, thanks, Robin. I appreciate it. For those of you who don't know, Robin is the CEO of the Keller Williams Utah Realtors Market Center, aka exactly where we are right now. So if you haven't had a chance to meet her, Robin's been in the business as long as I've been in the business, really. I've known Robin and her business skills for a lot of years because we were constantly growing together, and I think it's such an honor that this office has such a high caliber team leader. So, if you haven't met with her to at least get a business consult, she's the real deal. You guys should definitely raise your hand for something like that. So today we're going to focus in on the catchy headlines. How do we make $144,000 in 12 months? You guys should be able to do better than that, even the new people who haven't implemented this. The very first year that I was in real estate, I sold 27 homes, and I was back in the early 30s when it was a little easier to sell. Now. I'm lying. Bob was with me doing this thing. Bob. But no, in all seriousness, I was 27 years old when I got licensed. And I did 27 transactions my first year, and I was a full-time person at that. So the first 6 months I did nada. The next 6 months I did 27 deals while I was working up in Deer Valley as an in-home personal chef, and that was a hell of a lot of work. So year number 2, I left the chefing world, which was, I know, crazy. I just didn't have good business acumen. I had great clientele, but I didn't know how to run a business. It was Keller Williams that taught me how to run a business. My first year with Keller Williams, my full-time year, was my second year in business, sold 48 transactions. And most of that came from one of the systems that I'm going to teach you guys how to implement today, which, by the way, still works today. For those of you guys who don't know, I do work for Keller Williams International's MAPS coaching program. I coach some of the top teams in the world. And one of the things that we always focus on is making sure that this particular system that we're going to talk about today is implemented and being executed, because it is the mainstay, the lifeblood, the number one pillar of any real estate business. All right, so I'm excited to be able to do that. Now I've got Kimber with me. She works for the Keller Williams Utah hub, so she does a lot of the marketing side of things. She's kind of a nerd when it comes to CRM and design.
Just kind of a nerd.
Like really a
All of
nerd,
it.
but like one of the super coolest nerds that I know. And so she and I have worked together to create a lot of the same content that I used back when I was running a 7th level real estate team to help us to convert have not mets into have mets. So we've white labeled a lot of this for you. Kimber has this all available. I mean, it's basically like plug and play. And then the second systems that we've implemented that we'll be talking about today, again, all this content is being created for you, which is bitchin'. If I could just say that without the filter, it's bitchin'. Why? Because when I first started running these systems, there wasn't any sort of technology like this where we could use and plug in and have these things graciously going out. And so me being the first one in the state of Utah to begin running the system effectively, I was literally creating all of my own material. And my brewery partner, I'm a partner in a brewery called Roja Brewing Project. My brewery partner was a real estate client of mine, like 18 years ago or something like that. Moved him 3 doors down. When we moved him up into Park City, you know, about 7-8 years ago, he went through all of his old stuff and he found my absolutely pathetic, horrific marketing material that I used to send out back when I had hair. So the good news is you've got somebody like Kimber who actually makes this stuff look remarkable. And the other good news is you don't have to create it. It's being created for you. All right, which is super awesome and leaves you guys with no excuses not to implement this. Now, I'm going to be honest with you, this particular system, the second part of this that we're going to talk about is the marketing to the HAVnet database. And that's where the money, you know, the real money, you know, comes into play. Now, I've been teaching this since I started this. So that means I've been teaching this particular class for like 20 years, which is crazy. But I'm going to be honest with you, I can count on one hand how many people have actually implemented these systems in the 20 years that I've been teaching it to, literally hundreds, if not actually thousands of agents at this point. So I'm glad that you were all here now and you're going to implement the system, right? It was kind of funny, you know, back in the day, because I was running a really big business before there were a whole lot of really big real estate businesses. And this was the one system that was feeding my real estate business. And I'd be teaching it and I'd be like, look, you know, if I paid you, let's say $250,000, $300,000, if I just wrote you a check, would you do all of the things that I need you to do to make sure this happens?
Heck yeah.
Heck yeah. But nobody was doing it. So I'm like, you know, it's crazy, but we'll go over some numbers too of like the rate of return and how this thing actually works. And this is all measured, it's all proven, it's all a model. I didn't create the thing, I just implemented the thing. Anybody in here read the red book, we affectionately call it? Yeah, the Millionaire Real Estate Agent book. Those of you guys who have not read the Millionaire Real Estate Agent book, write that down and read it. Pages 132 to 148 is where we're going to spend a little bit of our time today. Not that I have the thing memorized, but that's where we're going to spend a little bit of our time today, and that's the marketing to our HAVnet database. That marketing plan that we're going to provide for you and walk you through how it works is the one system that rules all systems. Every single real estate agent, the first thing they do when they get in the business should have this particular system, right? It's just a great ROI. And we'll go over those numbers, but that's where the information is. So I want to start with kind of the HAVnet database. Is there anybody in here right now that's doing any sort of online lead generating, social media lead generating, or anything like that?
Like through KW Command?
That's fine. Yeah. We've got a couple of yeses. Chase is a yes. You're doing some
Personal stuff, but yeah,
stuff.
not as much, some.
Yeah, I mean, if, you know, it's funny, if I were teaching this class 3 years ago, like 80% of the hands would have probably gone up yet. I'm doing that, right? But as the market's changed, people have rightfully, you know, held on to their money and redeployed it in other areas. Also, the quality of those online leads have diminished. But also the good ones are now super expensive. I had called up Zillow about maybe a year ago. I read somebody I've worked with over there for like a decade. And just to see kind of like, if I start a new project, what does it look like for a cost per lead? And of the zip codes that were available, it would cost me about $1,700 a month for, get this, 1/2 of a lead. I don't even know what the hell a half a lead is. You know what I mean? Like, I can't imagine just like Jordy's head rolling up, being like, hey man, have you seen my body? Am I missing a piece?
So you're gonna have to pay twice that, and is that one call that you still have to convert, or is that 10 people that converts into one lead?
That's a lead.
That's one lead. that you
Lead.
convert. What, like, that's one phone number that you get.
It's not, it's a half of
Phone number that you get.
801-69, and then the rest of it's up to you.
Yes, the rest.
Yeah, there's like, you know, 2.7 million other combinations if you want to try them, you know. I mean, thankfully with AI, we'll be able to do that very quickly. I've got, you know, 4 digits and I can probably get the rest here in about 5 minutes. So, yeah, isn't that crazy? It's super expensive, but here's the thing, like, I have no issue with doing, you know, like pay-per-click or social media. I mean, all of this stuff works if we have a strategy, but I think the biggest problem that people have is they lack an actual system to follow up with the leads that we have that are coming in. And this could be, you know, any sort of new lead that's coming into you. A have not met is essentially somebody that I haven't had a real estate conversation with. Some people think a have met means that we met in person. You know, that's not the truth. The truth is, the have met is the people that we have a conversation with, that we get permission to stay in touch. That's it. It's really, really simple. That can happen in a phone call, can happen in a grocery store line, can happen at a baseball game, a Bees game, Salt Lake Jazz or Utah Jazz game, right? It can happen just through conversation. But a have not met means we've never even had a conversation with these people. And so that's the first thing that I want to kind of walk through is, how do we systematically stay in front of our have not mets to ensure that there's no lead left. Now, the first rule of following up with a new lead that comes into your world is you need to follow up within, what does it say up there? 5
minutes.
Yeah, 5 minutes, or there's a 400% decrease in your ability to convert them. Now, I want you to erase that number 5 minutes. This is now the new of the new millennia. I don't know how we're.
I mean, this
What
is
is the
what,
year?
18 months old?
Yeah.
Data's out of here.
Out of here. You know what? I mean, so honestly, you know, one of the lead platforms that we use in the Utah Roost group, our follow-up needs to be 10 seconds or less from when a lead comes in. 10 seconds, right? So one of the things that you want to do is you want to make sure when a lead's coming into a system that you have some way of receiving instant notification, and that you basically drop everything you do, unless you're having a real estate conversation, you know, drop everything that you do and follow up with that lead, right? Everything, right? Let's just kind of put it this way. Amazon used to be a book company. I don't know how that actually morphed to what it is today. God bless Bezos. Everybody in here pretty familiar with Amazon, right? Do you remember like this thing called Amazon Prime? What did Amazon Prime, what was its main benefit for shipping when it first came out?
Free shipping, free shipping.
Free shipping. Free shipping. It's like, oh my God, that's amazing. But then it turned into what?
Immediate.
Then it turned into 2-day,
Yeah.
you know, they call, you know, Prime, right? And then it turned into today. You know, and now it's basically like Amazon yesterday. You think of what you want and you open the door and you're like, damn, how did they know I needed that? You know, and that's what I'm saying about the lead follow-up too, is that when a lead comes in, they push enter. It's incumbent upon you to make sure that you follow up with that. You know, here's kind of a crazy thing. Do you all have cell phones that you have to unlock your phone? You all have that? How many seconds do you think it takes you to unlock your phone right now?
Not even one.
John, you don't count.
And it like read your face, so.
Yeah, I mean,
Yeah,
even if you just hold it and
Couple
first
seconds.
of all, you get the notification, you grab the phone, you see that it's a thing, it's gotta see you, it does its little thing, hopefully you're not making a weird face or something, so it actually registers that you are who you are, right? And then you can get on and follow up. Now, that's gonna chew up about 30 to 40% of the time that you have to hit this first metrics to make sure they can get in touch with them. Isn't that crazy? So why the hell are we blocking our phone all the time? In our office? Are you worried about like somebody going and grabbing your phone and saying, oh, what if these are real estate leads coming in? No, it's just this weird thing that sort of got dropped on your lap. And now everybody walks around with the screen lock on, right? So the first recommendation for you guys, if you're going to be doing lead generation, is take your damn screen lock off. Nobody's busting into your phone and stealing your private information through your phone. They're doing that online. They don't need your phone to do that, right? So that's just a recommend. Now, the other recommend too that we'll make in the system that we have in place for this, we'll talk a little bit more about, but we want to have 3 phone calls that happen right away. So if you get a phone number, you want to make a call. If they don't answer, hang up, call again. If they don't answer, guess what you do? You hang up and you call them again. And you know what happens on the 3rd time?
Answer.
They freaking answer. Now, if you're feeling like scummy, like I did when I was doing this, you can just say, I'm sorry, I was having a problem with my phone. Hey, it's Josh over at Keller Williams. That's it. Right? If I leave a voicemail message, I'll say the same thing. I'll be like, hey, I'm sorry, I'm having a problem with my phone. It's Josh with Keller Williams. Just getting back to you about the 123 property. That's it. You know, real simple. People don't really care. But somebody did this to me. I'm at Jazz Fest. Now, I'm not actively listing, you know, homes and working with buyers anymore, right? I've been there, I've done that at a high level, so that's not really my jam. But I'm at Jazz Fest 2 weeks ago. Anybody know what Jazz Fest is? It's in New Orleans. It's like a giant music festival that happens for 2 weeks. And I was there for 1 week. It was amazing. One day I saw Lizzo. At the same time, Lizzo was playing, Wu-Tang Clan was playing, and Robert Plant and Alison Krauss were on the far stage playing. All at the same time, right? That was a cool walkabout. I mean, it was like a mile and a half, but it's like I got all of the good stuff there. Anyway, I'm sitting underneath a mahogany tree and my phone goes off, right? And I look at it and I'm like, I don't know the number. Anybody have that? And when you don't know the number, what happens? You ignore it, right? Sales. They called back again and it's like, so much. That's pretty good. You know, but then on the 3rd time, what do you think I did? I, who created this genius system, answered the frickin' phone. The guy on the line said, is this Josh? This is a true story, guys. Said, is this Josh? I said, no, it isn't. Are you sure? Yeah. Okay, that was that. I get a text from Audrey, the operations side. Hey, so-and-so is trying to reach out to you about selling $1 million property and gonna buy another $1 million property. And I'm like, oh my God, it wasn't me. I got reverse used on that. And it freaking worked. That's all I'm saying. Now, granted, we everything worked out in the end. I ended up having to call him that night. Apologize. Sorry, it's over at Jazz Fest, a little crazy in New Orleans right now. You know, it was. There's like 80,000 people in the same place. It's just nuts. I wouldn't have been able to talk anyway, but I thought, this is important. I'm just trying to demonstrate the point. 3 calls. Get it out of your head that you can't do that. Start doing it. Just start doing it. Make 3 calls. 3rd call, I'm sorry. And then go into it. All right. And if you leave a message, I'm sorry, go into it. I'll text you as well. Right. And text them. If you have an email, I'll text and email you as well. So hit them all those ways, right?
So you call this guy back.
Yeah.
And on the 3rd time he answers and he says, no, it's not who it is. You know who the guy is. What's your plan?
Well, he didn't do that, right? He just,
Right, but I mean, someone else does that same technique.
it's never happened. Yeah, that's what happened.
You were the guy.
Yeah, I was the guy. I mean, I just let you know, it's like never happened. Now, when I was running a big real estate team, I was, you know, trying to get all the agents on the team to kind of get in the same mindset of like, hey, this is what we have to do in order to be able to make these connections. You're going to increase your connectivity rate by more than 50%. All you got to do is this, right? How many of you in here, by raise of hands, think that my team members on the real estate team were cool and just went ahead and did the old 3 call business? How many of you guys think that they made those 3 calls? Thank God, you guys know agents, you're 100% correct, but I have good news. I had a director of sales on my team who was making a salary. And so when the lead came into him, I said, here's what you need to do. Now, I'm doing this stuff, so it's like, I'm practicing what I'm preaching, I already know it works, you know? And so he started doing it because he was on my payroll. It's a lot harder to say no when you're on the payroll, you know? And so he started doing it, and by the way, it works. So what I'm telling you right now is that one thing is going to increase your odds of converting by 400%, all right? So here's the second strategy that we have to deploy with a new lead that we haven't met that's coming in, all right? Now, most of you guys aren't gonna follow up within 10 seconds. I've given you a strategy that can help you with that. You have to make sure that your CRM will provide notification as they come through, right? I've given you a strategy to help convert quickly with 3 calls, but if that doesn't work, then you have to understand that 80% of sales occur between the 5th and the 12th contact attempt. 5th and the 12th contact attempt. So I'm going to throw this out here first. And I don't remember exactly what the statistic is, but what I can tell you is 93.7% of all stats are made up on the spot. So I'll just start with that. And then it's something like 80% of the agents don't even call one time. That's nuts. And then some very small percentage, I believe it's like 12%, but again, I can't remember exactly what the percentage is, will call twice. You know how many will call more than two times? Less than 2%. Less than 2% of real estate agents will call 2 times to try to contact somebody. All right, I want to unpack that, go wide behind that here in just a second. But 80% of sales occur between the 5th and the 12th contact attempt, 5 and 12. How many of you guys have a system in place to make sure that you can do that? Because here's what happens. Any of you guys who've done any online lead generating, you get a lead that comes in. You follow up, you do some stuff, you know. Tomorrow, you end up getting another lead that comes in. You're still following up with the lead the day before, but now you got a new lead follow up. And guess what happens on Saturday? You got a couple more leads that came through over the weekend, right? A couple more people to follow up with, make contact attempts. That's cool. It's just 4 in the last week or so that have come through. I can manage that. But guess what's going to happen? With any luck, you guys wake up on the green side of the grass and you go back to the office on Monday. And what happens on Monday? You got a new lead that comes in. And then a new one and a new one and a new one. So why do you think agents aren't having the ability to follow up 5 to 12 times attempts to be able to get in touch with somebody? Because they don't have a system for it. And by the time a week or 2 weeks goes by, they've totally lost touch with the first handful of leads that they have come through because they haven't answered their damn phone yet. But they don't know that, oh shit, it doesn't even say it. Oh, it does say it over there. Yeah, they don't know that 80% of the contact, 80% of the sales will occur between the 5th and 12th contact attempt. Seems so annoying, but you got to do that within a 90-day period. And we've created a system that's going to do all of this for you. We have all of the stuff. You guys can just take it, put it into whatever you're doing, and make the magic happen. Right? Right.
Well, yeah, and what's cool about that is that, so the system, it make at least 15 phone calls in the first 90 days. So the plans that we have for you to activate with any leads you receive, it has that in it. What it also has are things like email that engage them and text messages that are automated that engage them.
Yeah.
So you're really building a relationship, and majority of it is automated, but that's why we're always talking about millionaire real estate agent prospecting based, marketing enhanced.
Yeah.
Marketing enhanced being the automated portion of it, and prospecting based being the, I need to make 15 contact attempts. I don't know if that's what you would call it.
Yeah.
Or calls in that first 90 days of that lead being in my funnel.
Yeah, so what Kimber's saying is when we sat down, we put pen to paper on this white list, basically a lot of the same types of dialogues that we were using, you know, on my team. We just white labeled it to make it work. Now, the market changed a year ago. So what did I do? I sat down and rewrote the content, and the market changed again about 2 months ago. And so we sat down again and rewrote the damn content. And so, you know, the message has to be the market of the moment. And so the stuff that Kimber and I have sat down and created together is all relevant to today's market, and it all works, but it doesn't work if all you're going to do is automatically send out some emails. You know, I mean, how many of you guys have ever bought anything just because somebody sent you an email besides Amazon? Nobody, okay.
I will like carpet cleaning,
Uh-huh.
like Google or search in my Gmail for their number later on because it's a coupon.
Uh-huh.
Coupon code,
That's
yeah.
the only time like Jiffy Lube does the same thing. Once a month they send something. I stay on their drip because they're not bombarding me.
Yeah.
And I get a coupon, but.
Have you used those people before?
I mean, probably because I'm on their list.
Right, and so this is a little bit different, like, they don't know you, they don't know you from Adam, they have no relationship with you, and we agree that real estate is in fact a relationship business. Right, and by the way, it's weird, but I remember, you guys remember this thing called Groupon? I don't know if it's still is working to this day. I remember, oh, that's such a good idea, I'm gonna call them up and give them a Groupon for real estate services, right? They wouldn't allow Groupons for real estate services, so I guess realtors can't have coupons, whatever. I tried. So yeah, there's a mix of text message and email that are market appropriate in there. But the key part of this within the first 90 days are these things called contact attempts. And that's where agents sadly fail, is their ability to actually have a system that tells them who to call, when to call, you know, and what to say, right? All right, so did I miss one in there, the long-term follow-up? The 18 months, so I bet if we forward it didn't get quite placed into place. Let's see. There it
Oh,
is. That's the guy. All right, that's okay. So here's the other part of this is when buyers, for instance, get online and they start searching for properties, how long on average does it take them to actually move into a home? Anybody know what the average time is?
6 months.
Yeah, it's north of that. You know, it's 12 to 18 months from the first time a buyer gets online and starts thinking about buying a home till they actually end up buying a home. And so here's the interesting thing, 67% increase if you have a follow-up strategy that will last for more than 6 months. And so when Kimber and I sat down and put this material together, we created a follow-up system that will be front-loaded with phone calls, because as you now know, you have to have at least 15 contact attempts in the first 90 days. But then as time goes on, the calls will begin to slow down, you know, like once a month and then once every other month and so on and so forth. But there's still going to be some calls that are in there, but most of it's going to be marketing that's white labeled with your information on it, that's providing offers for immediate response or providing an education to clients who are still considering buying a home. And so we've put this whole system together, and I think it runs more than 18 months now. I don't remember how long. So it's somewhere between 18 months and 2 years, how long this thing runs.
687 days, which is longer than 18 months.
Yeah.
Extreme, it's long.
It's long.
It's long.
It's a long-term
Yeah.
follow-up. It's a long-term follow-up. And we put one together for sellers too. So it's not just that we did this for buyers, we did this for sellers. No, sellers time frame from when they sell is a little bit shorter from the first time they get online and start doing research. You know, it's a little bit shorter than it is a buyer. At least in our current market, it has been for the last few years. But we do have one for sellers as well. I think it even goes 18 months anyway, even though we don't really need to run that long. How many of you guys that have been in this industry for more than, say, 10 years? Thank you for being honest, because I like to know that I'm not alone. How many of you guys wish that somebody like Kimber had created this shit 10 years ago, right? That you could just literally plug it into a person and it just does all of the things. Wouldn't that have been awesome to have that stuff 10 years ago? That's how it is now. All of it's basically just done for you. It's a complete plug and play program that just works. Now let's back up to some of the MIT slides. So MIT did a study of real estate online leads and the ability to convert those leads, and published it in the Harvard Business Journal. Is this the first slide? Okay, published it in the Harvard Business Journal. And I'm gonna show you some stats in here that I think are really, really important. So one of the things that I kind of have a question on is how many people in here don't have a lead generation habit that takes them from, say, 9 o'clock until noon? That's consistent 5 days a week. You, all of you who aren't raising your hand, go ahead and put them up.
Yeah.
Okay, good. I've just been in real estate long enough to know that there are very few real estate agents that actually are lead generating, you know, Monday through Friday from 9 to 11. Well, if we're only going to pick a couple of days to lead generate, then if that's what we're going to do, if we're going to be intentional about starting our real estate career from where we want it to be, what do you think the two best days are to actually be doing lead generation?
Wednesday, Thursday.
Wednesday and Thursday. Like, who would have thought? Now, I'm going to add something to this because this was done as if real estate agents only work 5 days a week. But what do we know about real estate agents? They work the weekends too, right? So here's the thing I can tell you from my own personal experience, which is vast. Saturday happens to be a wicked good day to be getting in touch with people, right? Saturday is excellent. If you're making calls between 10 o'clock and 1 o'clock on Saturday, you, my friend, have probably just found the very best day to actually contact people. So think about the 5 to 12 contact attempts. Think about the best days that you should be making those contact attempts, and think about adding a Saturday into the contact attempt. Do any of you guys have like, not a goal, but like a reality of where you make 10 or more actual contacts in a day? Awesome. Having real estate conversations, right? So not just like, hey, how are you doing, neighbor? Yeah, we're gonna barbecue tonight. Sweet.
Contact.
Yeah, no, we're having real estate conversations, so 10 or more. Now, here's the thing that I did, especially during the Great Recession. My coach had me making 30 contacts a day, 5 days a week. And it took me about 2.5 to 3.5 hours to get those contacts in. Might take a little bit longer nowadays to get those contacts in. And so if I got to Friday and I hadn't made, say, 150 contacts, what did I have to do on Saturday? Get all the rest of the contacts. This is how I know Saturday rocks. Now that sucked because my wife was super displeased when I had to go into the office and start working early on Saturday. Very, very unhappy. She was my accountability partner. It wasn't a friendly accountability, you know what I mean? But it was definitely accountability. Right, so I set a goal of 30 contacts a day. That's what we decided we need to do to be able to get an appointment today. That's what worked. But if I didn't make the 150 contacts by Friday, I would come in on Saturday. I didn't have this information back then. I could have totally saved myself a bunch of time and just put a lot of my lead gen happening on that Wednesday and Thursday. Let's flip to the next slide here.
And where it says, try to stay between the screens, because he wants people to see you.
Where am I going?
So just like, I think you're going to pass the screen. So the screen is your fence, Josh.
Gordon, you start to sound like my wife. Everybody. All right, I'll do my best. I walk around a lot, sorry. I did the same thing when I prospect, like, you know, the people that would see me prospecting the office back in the day, I'd be like walking down the hall, having real estate conversations, you know, I mean, I just can't, that's who I am. I'm sorry, Gordon. All right, so here's the other thing I wish I would have known back in the day, and that is there are 2 good times to be calling during the day, but the best time wasn't the time that I was calling, right? So the best time was earlier than when I started calling. Look at that, 8 a.m. to 10:30 a.m. That's the second best time. Now I was pretty good on that. I was getting most of that time frame and then some. But here's what I missed, guys. The very best time of day to call somebody is, it's in green down here. Sorry, Gordon.
4 and 5 p.m.
4 and 5 p.m. So if you don't have a lead generation habit right now, pick Wednesday and Thursday and pick 4 to 5 p.m. and just nail it. Just go with it, right? It's a great way to start, honestly, and you'll get a hold of a lot more people in a shorter period of time. I still feel like a lot of people don't have the willpower to actually start making calls at 5 p.m. Not a lot. I mean, some do, but most don't, right? I mean, I can tell you for me, if somebody told me right now that I need to make calls at 5 p.m., I'd give them 2 fingers. Not for this guy, right? So I get tired. Willpower's not a roll call, so I just did all my lead gen in the morning, and unfortunately on some Saturdays. But now you guys have data that I didn't have. And this is like data that was published in the Harvard Business Journal, and it was research that was done by MIT. Have you guys heard of those institutions? I'm being facetious. I already know you, right? So, yeah, let's switch to the next. What do they show? Where do we get the data from the first slide that we looked at in terms of a 400% decrease in your ability to get in contact with somebody if you wait how long? If you wait how long? It goes 5 minutes. Is that what it is now? We talked about this. Amazon when? 10 seconds. Like I'm telling you guys, I'm not joking. When a lead comes in, you have 10 seconds.
It says at the bottom, drop dramatically in just minutes and continue to decrease over the next few hours. So really, if it was a lunch appointment and then following back up, really you lost it at that.
Is this connected to that?
Yeah, I can do that though.
No, that's fine. That way I can control my own destiny.
Yeah.
How about
do
that?
it. You don't push
I don't
that
know.
space bar, but you're like, now I don't know how to go back. It's okay, we'll go back.
Okay.
Let it go.
And then look at this. Same thing, average call attempts by reps. Look at that. You've got, what is it? Close to 40% make one. Something like 20% will make two, and then less than 10% will make three. And then it just basically piddles off into the middle of nowhere. Don't be that guy. Don't be that guy. Right? Implement the system that we have available for you, and Keller Williams can just download that system, and every time you have a new lead, apply that to it. But the one trick I'm going to tell you right now that's going to set yourself apart from the competition is the trick that my now real estate client just barely used on me when I was in the markets. I'm at the freaking Jazz Fest, and I took that home. Really? It works. Was I angry? No, I just didn't tell him I was Josh. It's so funny to me.
Is
All right.
Josh, no.
No.
That was-
Yeah, let's pass this. So I'm gonna let Kimber kind of walk through what some of this stuff looks like in how to download that in the KW Command, the done for you system.
Yeah, so for those of you, I know there may be one person or handful of people that are not with KW, so our CRM KW Command makes it really easy just to publish any marketing plans to. So what I have screenshotted right here is the 10 days of love, rename the 10 days of pain because Josh thought that was.
Well, it used to be called the 10 days of pain, but so one of the things that you guys need to know is I didn't create anything in my life because I'm not smart. But I am at least action oriented. And when I started the 10 days of pain, which is, 10 calls, 10 days kind of a thing, my team didn't like the word 10 days of pain. So I was just like, well, let's just call it the 10 days of love. So it stuck.
We are going to love bomb our leads for 10 days,
There you go.
right? So quality is in the quantity on that. So over 10 days, and you'll see the total there, there's 13 touches. So you're being very intentional about getting those calls in, getting the emails, the texts, multiple mediums, multiple ways of reaching out to them. So that is on command, going into the smart plan library, clicking add smart plan. Now that plan's in your database. Yes. Kevin.
When you plug this in, does it go through Twilio or does it go through? Because I haven't signed up because
Yeah.
I haven't wanted to use a number that's not mine.
Yeah.
So I just want to know.
So what I usually say, just as a tech trainer, I lean into Twilio for lead generation and lead follow-up. And my SOI, I'm more inclined to communicate with you on the phone number that I have and that you know me by. I'm not saying that that's how you have to do it. So you would have Twilio set up. And it's a good way to follow up with leads because they're just getting to know you as well. They save your number. I mean, more or less that could be your work number until you built that relationship and have met, and then
Yeah.
they have both numbers saved for you.
You could put in any of those texts too. This is my business line.
Yeah.
You can text it, but this is my business line.
And if you don't have Twilio, so Twilio is just a text service. It's pretty low cost. The lowest plan on there is like $3.24 a month for 300 text messages, basically. If you don't sign up for that though, it's a reminder. It shows up as a task.
Yeah,
to
so
send
you
the
can,
text message.
when you go into your dashboard, if you will, it says, here are all the things that I have to do today. That's a cool thing about having a CRM like command, is it does have that dashboard. Here are all the things I have to do today. It'll say, send this text out, and it'll tell you exactly what to send.
Okay, that's
Yeah.
cool.
So then we discussed this a little bit. So this is how the plan currently stands. So this is what the plan is named. Because it was so long, 687 days, we actually had to publish the fourth part separate. So that's why you got that, but the instructions are all there. And yeah, 687 days, no edits needed. So this was really intentional on our part as far as when you guys have a lead, you want to be able to go and add them to a follow-up plan, right? Like immediately. You don't want to have to worry about, do I need to go and change the email or put in my personal info? How the plans are built in Command, there's a merge field. So it would just say, hey, contact first name, and things like this is agent first name with brokerage name, right? So it's just importing all of that data. And then all of the emails also have your legal footer at the bottom, which identifies your team logo, your brokerage logo, so you're also in compliance. So there's nothing you need to edit. There's always one in a group that's like, I am a creative butterfly, and they want to go edit things. For a lead follow-up, especially with how long this is, I would just suggest putting all of the time into that prospecting base, getting more business, make more, versus spending too much time on editing it.
Don't edit it.
Yeah.
Stop it. It already works. And all of your information will be there.
But if I tweak it to my specifications, I can have this up and running in 2 years.
That's right.
Yeah. So if it doesn't assume
And
that.
I'll check in 2 years and see how that's been going for you.
And I edit that, and then I'll have it to my specifications in 2 years. Honestly, we laugh, and that's exactly what would happen. And then you're sitting back here in this class 2 years later going, I want to make 144. Yeah. Same thing. I just wanted to show you how it breaks down as far as even that first 10 days, right? They don't call it 10 days of love bombing for nothing. 5 emails automated, 4 text messages automated, and the 5 phone calls are task reminders in Command with conversation starters and reference to what day it is. So I just want to spend a little bit on that. Conversation starters, we don't love to lean into the word scripts, but really the cool thing is the references of what do I talk to them about. So what Josh said earlier, where he said, I call them 3 times and then leave a voicemail. On day 1, that little reminder of what to do is in there. Maybe on day 10, it says, okay, here's some quick little thing you can talk about the market. Or
Yeah, and it also might be based off of what was sent out previously by email, right?
Yep.
So it might reference what was
Yep.
sent out by email, it might
That's very
reference what
good.
was sent out by text. So everything has a flow to it. So just do whatever, whatever the conversation starter is that shows up in a little box in Command, just do that.
Exactly.
It works.
And you can see up where it says task description, day 1, call 3 times. So that's where it would reference that. And then, so it's really nice because then you know what day am I in relationship with this person, right? Because if you got 10 leads that first week, you did that over 3 weeks, that's 30 leads. You want to know when Town of Barker's name pops up, I'm on day 30 of the relationship with this person, right? So that's why in the parentheses, the day is important.
Yep.
Do we want to pull that over? Or you?
Well, no, that's our whiteboard, right? So I can't draw on it because it has the whatever on it. So these guys can get the
Yes.
things. So
Okay.
that's okay. We're gonna do an exercise that manually here in just a second. But here's the idea. The whole point of being able to have a system like this is to be able to ensure that all of the leads don't fall, none of the leads, I should say, would fall through the cracks, right? So we put together a long-term system that it works. You just have to actually do the part that real estate agents don't like to do, and that is make the phone calls when it shows up. And once you've actually made a have met, which we just discussed, that could just be a conversation about real estate. The goal with that conversation is going to be to add them to the database. So here's where I feel like a lot of agents fail miserably. That is, if you're not ready to do something now, great, we'll be in touch, but I'll never actually talk to them again, right? That mindset needs to change to think, look, I'm in real estate to have a career, not just to have a job. You know, and so I want to be able to add these people to my have met database and stay in touch with them for how long? Ever, forever, right? And in order for us to do this, there are 4 pieces of information that we need to get. The acronym for this is NAPE. Write it down. Just write it down. You guys get focused on the acronym NAPE. NAPE is name, address. You want to finish the other 2 pieces for me? Phone and email. Yeah. So you have to remember all the time to do this, right? And everybody that you meet, you just want to get permission to stay in touch, have a real estate conversation, right? So if I talk to somebody, you know, and they're not going to do anything for a while, I no longer give a rip at all. It's just a number. You're going to go to my database. We're going to stay in touch forever. I'm going to earn the opportunity to either work with you, or I'm going to earn the opportunity to get a referral from you. Either one of those is totally fine.
Are you
with me.
bypassing your 10 days of, wow.
Good question, yeah. So remember that first system that we talked about, that 18-month campaign, which includes that 10 days of love on there. Once we contact them, we get name, address, phone number, email, they're no longer going to be on that system. You remove that plan and they're going to go into not 1, but 2, maybe 3, actually other plans. We're going to talk about that right now, but I wanted to make sure that you guys understood, how do I have a conversation, you know, to be able to get somebody's name, address, phone number, email?
Awesome.
Yeah, anybody have a good script for that? Good conversation for that?
Yeah.
Sorry, Gordon, I keep moving out of the things here, PB's my prison. Okay, I have all of this and adding to the database, reconnecting with orphan SOI, like I haven't talked to somebody for 2 years, what the hell do I say? Right, I have all of these scripts written down on the 8x8 36 touch system, which we're going to talk about, laid out, and you guys can text that number and that whole thing is going to come over to you. The scripts are on there. The 8x8 system, which we're about to talk about, is on there. The 36 touch system, exactly what I did, is on there. So, but I'm going to give it to you very quickly. And I'll use Terry as my guinea pig. So Terry, great talking with you. I look forward to staying in touch. Hey, listen, one of the things, I don't mind doing this for you, but one of the things that I do for my VIP clients is I help them protest their taxes each year. You get that tax notice in July. There's no cost to doing this. What address should I send this out to? What's your address?
ABC Street.
All right, or it could go like this. Hey, Terry, and I don't have an email address. I'd love to keep in touch with you about real estate, put you on my VIP client list, and I'll send you out invitations to the special client events that we do, which, by the way, all the Keller Williams market centers are now doing 4 client events a year. That's a strategy, right? And then I'll say I'd like to email this out to you. And by the way, if I don't have an email and I don't have an address, I'll ask for the email first. And by the way, I'll send this out via an actual snail mail, if you've ever heard of that. What's the best mailing address for you? So the idea, Nate, you have to make sure that you get it. The adding to the database script is something that I have, and it's the easiest script in the world to use. And by the way, you know how many people didn't want to be on my quote unquote VIP buyer list? I mean, I was using this script back in 2004. Nobody. Everybody wanted to be on the VIP client list. I had one friend ask me one time to take me off the mailing list, and he was a friend. He's like, I'm gonna send you all my referrals. And he's actually a friend, still a friend, friend I went to high school with, so a longtime friend. And by the way, he's still on the list.
As a marketing strategy, I just want to add that VIP buyer program, like someone may shoot up an arm right now and say, what does that mean? It means whatever you want it to mean.
Yeah.
You define it, and then as part of you delivering that message, that proposition, you're just saying, hey, I have this VIP buyer program. Tell me more about that. It may be different for Bruce or for the Stern team, but you're putting a name on it.
Yeah.
That's like,
Give it a brand, give it a title.
sticks. Yeah.
And everybody's
And
gonna
it's
want to
more,
be a part
I
of it.
feel more
You are,
those 3 letters.
you actually are. You
Yeah.
don't even have that title. You're not like VIP Kimberly. Very important. Yes.
You have different campaigns that are set up. Are you sending 4 emails in a year for the events, or are you just sending it to everything you send to everyone?
Let's put that question in the parking lot because it's gonna get answered. Right? And so we have a question back there. Okay.
Yes, you mentioned that you send out every July, like the tax information,
Uh-huh.
right?
Yeah.
Is that something that Command does automatically? Is that like the July email, or would we need to do that?
I did this independent.
Okay.
You know, and so I just send out the link to where if it's Salt Lake County, Weaver County, Davis County, Utah County, Tooele County, they all have, you know, the tax assessor office. And they all have a link in there of how to protest the taxes. And so I'll grab that link and I'll put it in an email and I can mass send it out to anybody, right? I can put one email. So this, as the team got really big and we had 50,000 people, 60,000 people in the database, we just put all the links in one email. And then we would typically say, I'm gonna actually hold a tax dispute webinar on this time, on this day, please make sure you attend, right? And send out an Eventbrite link so they could actually attend my virtual tax assessment webinar. And you guys all have the ability to help your people protest their taxes. Did you know that? It's pretty simple. I mean, just in short, I just gave you the first part. You got to find Salt Lake, the assessor link for the proper county, rather. So you can get their forms that they would fill out, right? But what do? You provide sale comparables, actual like CMA quality sale comparables to the client, you know, with like a CMA, and they will then send that into the county, and that's how you can help them protest taxes for free. Now, people that you're putting on a VIP client list, you can let them know, I'll invite you to my, you know, my special client events, but also I help my clients each year protest their taxes. I've saved people literally over hundreds and hundreds of thousands of dollars for the course of doing this for the last 20 years. So
In a regular year, how many people would you have raise their hand and say, I need this in
I can't, I mean, my regular is not, it's not computational for most people,
I'm just wondering how you kept up with that, because I've done,
because I had 30 people.
because I've
30
had,
people.
yeah, because I've had, you know, a handful every year.
Yeah,
That I run those for, or if I'm mailing to 60,000, you had more.
yeah, I'd have people like, I did a video blog on it 10 years ago. It became the most watched video blog in Salt Lake County for tax assessing. It'd show up like, how do I protest my taxes? And it was my video that showed up. So every year I had a bunch of strangers, you know, that would, hey, can you help me with this? And what do you think? I'm like, hell yeah, I add you to my database and I stay in touch. They'd be like, what do I need to pay for this? I said, nothing, but you owe me a referral between now and the time that we do this again next year. Can I count on you? Yes. That's right. So it's an easy one. You know, it's a just again, all I'm trying to say is this is a VIP client thing. Now, I digress. Let's go back to the system, shall we? All right. The idea is once I have Nate, they're no longer a have not met, they're a have met. I'm going to put them into a have met database. I'm going to stay in touch with them throughout. And the very first thing that we're going to do is we're going to put them through what's called an 8x8. All of you geniuses out there who have read pages 132, 148 in the MREA, what is the 8x8? Just so the world knows that I'm not making stuff up, giving it fancy numbers and names. 8 weeks.
8 touches in 8 weeks.
Both could teach this class.
Yes.
Yes, 8 touches in 8 weeks. How many touches?
8.
And then how many weeks? 8. And that's where I saw a lot of the agents fail miserably, right? They'd get 3 or 4 touches out there in 3 or 4 weeks, and then they're, you know, busy trying to create the next touch, and that goes out another 6 months later, and then boom, we're done. We never did it, right? So I remember first starting to do the 8x8. I would just print out all my own stuff, and I used like this black file box. So let's say I met you, Jordy, today. I would then go to my little black file box, and it would have 12 hanging folders in there representing the month of the year. Inside of each folder, it would have a manila folder that would say like week 1, week 2, week 3, week 4. Every Tuesday, whatever was in there, I would mail out. So all my 8x8s, like if I put you on an 8x8, I had everything pre-printed, and I would just go and drop it in this file system. Okay. Now, all of the systems are prospecting based, marketing enhanced. Prospecting based, what does that mean? It means you actually still need to pick up the phone and have dialogue with these guys. No big deal. I give you the scripts for those. They're in the 8x8 laid out, right? Real easy stuff, right? Not complicated. 8 touches in 8 weeks. So when I was using the analog system, when it came time for a phone call, I would say, Jordy, week 4 phone call, and I would put your cell phone number on it, and I would just stick it on the inside of the folder. So all the stuff that needed to get mailed out, got mailed out, and all the calls that needed to be made for that got made. Why? Because I didn't have kick-ass CRMs like you guys do. I had analog stuff. I was still listening to 8 tracks at this time. Does anybody know what an 8 track is? It's like
No.
4 of you guys that know an 8 track. I was still boogieing down to the Doobie Brothers on 8 track while I was doing the system.
So is
Same boogie.
Yeah,
this what you moved to once you talked to them? Like once you're.
that's exactly right. So the very first thing that happens when they're a have not met that have become a have met is we have the 8x8 system in place. Now, did you create that as well in Command, or is it just Audrey?
Yeah, so this one is live on plan. So you can go click add smart plan. That's what it's called.
Yeah,
That's exactly what it's called.
it's always best to look up smart plans in Command by author.
Author
It's
name,
way
Kimber
easier.
Walton.
Yeah, it's way easier. Then you can.
Easier to
filter it.
remember my name, right?
Well, yeah, I mean, if you do 8x8 in there, you probably get a bunch of, other people's stuff. And
Oh,
it just,
yeah.
it starts becoming incredibly random. This one is one that just works for you and it's very easy to do. So week 4 is a phone call, week 8 is a phone call. After the 8x8, I just want you to know it's a mind share game, guys. That's all we're trying to do is stay front and center of our clients. We're trying to hit them with different media. It could be email, text message, phone call, and the one thing I'm in love with that nobody does, mail. Mail, man, at this office, when it was over there, I was one of the first 13 agents, with Keller Williams here in Salt Lake County. And at that office over there, I would come in, around 4 o'clock, 5 o'clock, just so I could make all my newsletters in the little print machine, front side, back side. Then I'd hand trifold them. And when that got to be too intense, I bought a trifolder. And then when postage got too expensive, I learned how to do this like bulk mail font inside of Microsoft Publisher. All I'm saying is we've all made this shit so easy for you. You don't have to struggle anymore. It's done for you, right? Here's the problem that real estate agents have, is what Jordy said. I'm going to get ready to get ready to get ready to get ready. It needs to look a certain way. I've got to say it's, like this. All my newsletters need to be.
I need to redo my logo first.
I need to do my logo first. You know what your logo should be? A picture of your beautiful head, your email address, and your phone number. If you have a website, include that. That's it. And by the way, if you mailed something out and it was a postcard with your beautiful mugshot, email address and phone call, but nothing else, it's still going to work better than what you're doing right now. Seriously, and it has for years. And I encourage you to send out blank postcards because that'll make the follow-up call a lot more interesting. Yeah, I just wanted to see if you've been receiving, postcards to send out too. I have. Did you have any questions? Well, yeah, they've all been blank. Well, I just wanted to leave it open. Leave it open for dialogue. But the truth of the matter is the quality is in the consistency of getting these things sent out. It's not in what your stuff says. So had this gal in my class who was in my sphere of influence. This is probably 15, 18 years ago. Her name was Bonnie Larson. She went on to become a team leader, a licensed agent, damn it. She was one of my clients, become a licensed agent, do the math here, became a team leader and then ended up owning a couple of different property management companies. She just retired like a month ago. Anyway, she was one of my clients, sold a bunch of properties for her. I must have made it look easy because she got a real estate license. She's sitting in this same damn class. I'm like, Bonnie, you get my mail, right? Yeah. I'm like, what do you do with it? She's like, well, I just take from here and put it into the old trash can. I'm like, you don't use recycled bin? What's wrong with you? But the important thing is she said it went from here into the trash can. Email, you can't do that. You see the difference? This, you're going to see it. Now, it doesn't matter what they're seeing as long as they know it's coming from you, because I always like to demonstrate this. If you guys can see this here. Sorry, Gordon, I'm out of the picture again.
I'm back.
If you saw that on sportswear, what brand would you say that is? Nike. It's Nike, but it doesn't really mean anything. But every time you see it, it's Nike, right? That's the whole point. When people it's a mind share game. Human beings only have the ability to remember so much stuff. So we have this, unique brain that puts these things into categories in our mind. So for instance, when you think of soda companies, who do you think of? Coke, Pepsi. And then it drops off. And I've learned to not ask girls about shoe companies, but when you think about shoe companies, Chase, what are the ones that pop into your head?
Nike fans.
Nikes, Vans, and then, and that's where it stops.
He's not even wearing Nikes or Vans.
No, but you get the point here. So, like, when I'd ask the gals this question, be like, oh my God, they have like so many damn shoe things. There's a special part in a woman's brain just for shoes. So I just like sodas though. You're like, I don't know, Coke, Pepsi, and that's where it stops. What the mind share game is you're either going to be number one in a person's mind when they think about real estate, or number two, or you plain old don't exist. Now, I'm totally fine being number two. Why? Because my system was systems. It just would happen every single year. And eventually, whoever was number one went bye-bye. And then my number two became the number one. That happened so many times. So if somebody has a real estate agent that they refer that are in your sphere of influence, it doesn't mean you can't stay in touch with them. Just know if you're doing this system, the other agent's not, that other agent is eventually not going to be in business, but you who are running this system will be in the business forever. This is a career developer, guys. It's a career developer. So once they're finished with the 8x8, there's one more piece, right? So the 8x8 is condensed, very similar to that 10 days of love, where you have a lot of upfront calls before it starts to taper off over time. 8x8 is 8 touches in 8 weeks. As soon as they're done with that, you're going to apply the 36 touch system along with a quarterly call plan, right? So those two things are happening together, but they're two separate plans. So the cool thing about the 36 touch, and I'll let Kimber kind of talk a little bit more about this shortly, is that Kimber's creating content that is relevant to today's market. There are newsletters that are coming out on a monthly basis with, there you go. Well, there are 4 facts to help first-time home buyers overcome common fears, right? Home renovations that actually bring you the best ROI. Like super professional content is being sent out on your behalf with your name, and all you got to do is plug and play. But what do we talk about the system having to be besides being marketing based? It's marketing enhanced. It's what? Prospecting based. So in a 36 touch system, 36 touch means you're going to give them 36 touches every single year for the rest of your career. That's what it means. 4 of those touches need to be telephone calls, so that we put those people on a separate plan called a quarterly touch plan, right? So Kimber's already done this for you. I used to send out the stupidest stuff in the world because I had to create it, and I am not a marketing dude. That's true. I'm really not. I mean, you should see the stuff. It's hilarious. I used to keep a big book of it because people would ask me, like, I do this class and be like, well, cool. What do you send? What do you send? And I just like leave this book there when I was teaching this class of all the stuff I sent. I wished I would have kept that because I don't have that anymore. And I don't know where it went, but you could see how stupid the stuff was that I sent. And that would give you the courage to send something awesome that Kimber's creating. Go ahead.
I have a question. Is there any way that would be available in Spanish?
Yeah. Yeah, so we've actually,
Question just for a second.
yeah, so someone asked if it's going to be available in Spanish. So we actually did reach out to someone that is going to translate that most current plan that we posted. I mean, it was live on Wednesday, so it's brand new content. And they're going to be translating the graphics and the wording in the email as well. The nice thing is we have a Latino branch at KW, and so there's real estate eyes on it as well. So it will be translated into Spanish, but then a lot of the terminology in real estate, that person will also have knowledge of the industry. So it'll be cool.
Yeah, awesome. And our new translator assistant's name is ChatGPT-4.
As long as it's on Google Translate.
Yeah, no, Google Translate. I've used that in Mexico. People are like,
Yeah,
I gotta do
yeah,
that.
so sometime in June is our goal for that, because that definitely, we got the request that was the need, so.
Now, with the plan that Kimber's created, she can't mail out on your behalf, but inside of the CRM, you do have the ability to have mail sent from the CRM. The way I did it is I would take the newsletter that Kimber creates, and instead of sending it out by email, I would actually copy it, which you can do. This is all for you, right? I would just copy that and paste it into a document that I convert into a PDF. And then I'd send it to a company here locally called the data center. And the data center would print it and then fold it, label it, stamp it, whatever they do. They do everything, right? And they do it with my CSV. So every time I sent a mailer over, I sent over a copy of my database that I've exported in the CSV. So they send it out and they make sure there are no doubles or anything that are like that. And that worked brilliantly. I did it for years and years and years. Now this system, here's the cool thing about this system, is this system is the system that generates a 10-to-1 rate of return. 10-to-1. What I mean is for every 10 people that you stay in touch with, they've gone through the 8x8, they're now in your SOI. And by the way, if they're already in your SOI, just put them on to 36 touch and make sure you make the damn phone calls, right? But this one system will get you a 10-to-1 rate of return, which means you either have a direct transaction that occurs from this for every 10 people, or you're going to have a referred transaction for this for every 10 people. So here's the deal. The average transaction right now, your average pay in Salt Lake City for a home sold is $12,000. That's not nothing. So what's 12,000 divided by 10? Since I can't put it up on the board, come on, that's an easy one. It's 1,200, right? It's 1,200. 12,000 divided by 10 is 1,200. Every person that I add to my HaveMet database is worth $1,200 a year, year after year after year after year. You can take it to the bank, you can make a budget on it. All right. Every single person that I put in my database is worth 1,200 as long as I'm running my 36 touch system, period. And that has to include 4 phone calls. Now, how many people in this room love calling people that know you, like you, and trust you? You're lying. You all like to call strangers. Nobody wants to call people they already know and like have a conversation about real estate. You know, it's like, I'm not gonna say nobody, but I've just done it long enough that I'm just gonna call you all liars. Anybody raise your hand? Don't ever raise your hand. I'm kidding. But here's the deal, like that happened to me, right? And that happens to most people. I don't know. I don't really want to call. I don't really know what to say, blah, 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 blah. Or what about the people worse that do know you? Maybe they're a past client. It was a little shaky of a transaction because, you know, well, the market's been a little shaky over the last 5 years, right? And so you're like afraid to call them. They only have good memories of you, but you're like, oh, that was tough, you know, or I hate them. Well, you remember real estate's very emotional. It's a very stressful thing. So sometimes the ugly comes out, but that's all right. Don't judge, right? It happens to all of us. Have you ever been a buyer of a home? Were you awesome to work with? No, no, we just tolerated you, you know. That's why they call us real estate therapists, not real estate agents, you know. And so here's the little game I had to play with myself in order to make these phone calls to people that I actually now knew. I had to take 1,200 and divide it by 4. Because that's all I had to do. Each person in my database is worth $1,200 a year. I divide that by 4. How much is that per phone call? $300 a phone call. And here's the game I play. If I was unwilling to call, by the way, back when I did this, it was more like $150 per phone call, right? Values have come up. So, but when I was doing it was $150 per phone call. Okay. Now, if I was unwilling to make that phone call, you know what I had to do? I delete that person from my database. That was the rule. But you can't, if I'm not going to make the call today, I'm not going to make the call ever. And so don't sweep it down the road. And by the way, don't keep them on your 36 touch either, because that's not going to work without making the phone calls. That's why it's a prospecting based, marketing enhanced stay in touch system. You got to make phone calls. But who in here is willing to make a phone call for $300, even the people that like you? I mean, most everybody in this room would call somebody and get paid $300 and know that the other person on the other side of the line actually does like you. So that's a good thing, right? Now, some of the scripts, you know, the orphan SOI script, you know, I've put that in that 8x36 touch laid out. But real quick, like, are there people that are in your sphere of influence that maybe you haven't talked to for a year or 2 or maybe more? Just raise your hand. This is okay. You're safe. I won't call you out. All right, good, everybody. That sounds right. So the script that I use for him is, I'd say, like, hey, Chase, it's Josh over at Keller Williams. Listen, I am so sorry, man. I've had a ton of people calling me over the last 6 months, asking me what's going on with the real estate market, and I hadn't heard from you, and I realized that's my fault. I'm so sorry I haven't done a better job of staying in touch. What questions do you have right now? How's it going? What are you up to? All right, now listen, I'm gonna do a better job of making sure that I keep you out in front of all of these things, real estate, right? Because when it comes to your own home buying, selling, or investing needs, I just want you to be educated and make a good decision. So I'm gonna do better. Now, the second SOI, orphaned SOI call, happens 90 days later, right? Because we have on a 36 touch, so that happens 90 days later. And the second call is gonna be a little bit easier. Hey, Chase, it's Josh over at Cato. Use calls about business. Have just a second. He says, yes, I do. Because nobody's going to say, no, I don't. Because I just said it's about business and it's only going to take a second. I realized when I talked to you about 3 months ago, I forgot to ask you what your real estate goals were this year. So what are your real estate goals this year? Fantastic. All right, great. Doesn't matter, whatever it is. Well, good. Like I said, I promise I'm going to do a better job of making sure I stay in touch. So I just gave you those 2 scripts and they're on there. They're super easy. And if you run those people that you haven't talked to for a little while, just through those scripts, easy as pie. Super easy, works. Why? Because I've used it. I've used it many, many times. I've had people on my team use it many, many times. It's just an easy script. Easy script. So there's 4 touches that are going to be phone calls, right? There are then going to be my preferences that you send out 1 mailer a month. You call it the Market Watch newsletter, Wasatch Front real estate update. You can call it Numbers That Matter. You can call it I'm Super Awesome, JoshStern.com. I don't care what you call it, as long as it has the same look every time. Just get the thing sent out. So Kimber, why don't you talk to us about some of these other touches that you put together?
Yeah, so this is just kind of a summary. And I know we've got these names all laid out, so I want to pull up some visuals. So this is another thing when we're talking about this 36 touch part 789. Again, monthly real estate newsletter that you can send through email and or print. The market update, this is another thing that sometimes we add complication to it and it's not that complicated. So every 30 days, the Wasatch Front Regional MLS, and if you're national, your MLS puts out data every 30 days, I promise. And we just take that data and put it on a graphic that you can edit if you want to, but we're saying don't edit it, just plug and play this. And here's what's going on right now in the market. The email that we put out for you, it also includes UAR data, which is Utah Association of Realtors. So screenshot of all the states, Salt Lake County specifically, and a narrative about what's going on in the market from them directly. So this is something, I know I see a couple of Ignite students in here. This is something I brought up to Ignite this week. Sometimes we forget as agents, we have a lot more power than sometimes we think, right? We're like, oh, we have a real estate license. Utah is a non-disclosure state, so sold data is not something that's public. And so us being able to, when I go onto UAR, we go to create this content, I have to be a realtor just to even get on the site. And so being able to use that data to tell the story and get that out in front of your people. Sometimes people just go, market update, like they watch KSL. Well, yeah, but that's here's what we think about what's going on in the market. And don't you want to be the deliverer of that message? So I always say that, especially even with postcards and if you're farming, I know that's a whole other conversation, but I always say like lean into the tools that you have unique to anyone else.
Yeah, become the local economist.
Yeah.
And that's very important, especially in a market that's been shifting like a third world country, aka the United States of America's real estate market over the last year has looked a lot like a third world country where you have interest rates that have doubled, in less than a year, and that's never happened in the history of real estate. You've got the spread between the 10-year yield, the treasury yield, and the 30-year mortgage rate is higher than it's been in, I don't know, 20 something years, right? So our feds have really made a conundrum out of our real estate market. And by the way, real estate has been in a recession since June of 2022. So we're coming up on 1 full year of being in a recession. Go ahead and applaud yourselves for making it through this. Yeah, you're like most of the way through the recession. So if you can start thinking career minded, like long term, and start systematizing how we communicate with people, how we communicate with the have not met database, and how we are intentionally focused on getting Nate to convert them to a have met, to where we put them into an 8x8. When the 8x8 is done, they go into a 36 touch along with a quarterly call plan, so you can stay in front of them. Now, Chase, can I pick on you just because like you're sitting right in the middle? And you're a good looking fellow, by the way. Yes. How many people approximately do you have in your database?
Is this a CRM or is it SOI?
People that if you picked up the phone and called them, they would actually know who you are. They might not like you.
I
150, 200.
maybe I'd say 150, that
150?
maybe like me, maybe 200 on both sides.
Okay, cool. So I want you to write down an equation, because like if we're gonna go into our current habit database and we start scheduling quarterly phone calls, do you want to make 150 quarterly phone calls today?
Much.
No, not so much, right? We want to get them sort of applied over a period of time, so they're not all going to drop on us in one day, right? So how many working days do we have in a quarter?
2 weeks.
I forgot.
I'll give you a hint. It rhymes with pixie. 60, very good, excellent. Yeah, excellent job. So if we took 150 and we divided it by the amount of working days that we have in a quarter, that excludes all the weekend days, right? You've got 60, right? So 150 divided by 60 is 2.5. We would round that up, right? And if it's a point number, just round it up. So what I would do is I would literally go through my database and I would start with the letter A, and the first 3 in the letter A, I would schedule a recurring every 90-day phone call that happens forever to start tomorrow. And then I would keep going down the next A's and make them start the following day. The next one's the following day, right? So on and so forth, until you've gotten all the way through Z. And now you have your people applied on a quarterly call plan that you'll never not call them unless you want to delete them. If you don't like the $300, let me know, I'll call them. I especially like calling people I don't know. I'm lying, but that's not really a lie. I really do prefer to talk to people I don't know than the people I do know about real estate, you know. So that's the equation. Take the amount of people in your database, divided by 60. And then start with the letter A's, and you would start those on a quarterly call plan tomorrow. The next one's down the following day, so on and so forth, until you get all the way to Z. And now you're done. Now those people are going to be on quarterly calls forever.
Yeah, that I was just gonna say that plan never ends, so
Yep.
you'd have to intentionally remove them.
Yeah, which you don't
You're
do.
not going to, you're not gonna edit the email.
You guys, I mean, if you build a business like this and that business is functional over time, remember, this is career minded. The sad thing for real estate agents is today's not easy in terms of like getting the appointment right now. But the great thing about being a real estate agent is when you start thinking about the career, owning a business, you start going, look, I'm doing this 3 years from now, 5 years from now, 10 years from now, however long, right? I'm just going to keep adding to my database, because every time I do, that's $1,200 as long as I stay in front of them forever. And then you get to the end of your real estate career where you're like me and you want to retire at 44. That's cool. You can actually sell a business. You have an actual freaking real estate business that you can sell. Who wants to sell a business?
So you're
Definitely,
saying
yeah.
plugging this plan in, there's a potential that I could retire at 44. But I had to have started at 27 though.
Well, no, I was slow.
Okay,
Yeah, I was slow.
I'm like, oh dang it, I'm not 27.
No, you're not 27 anymore.
No.
We have a few people in here though, I'm pretty sure close to that or younger. But you know, it's for every 10 people, there's a transaction. You have 150 people. How many transactions are in your database currently, right now, every year? 15, right? Now I went with the number 12, doing one deal a month. What's 12 times 12,000?
$144,000.
That's where the name of this class came from. So if all you did, you know, if all you had were 144 people in your SOI, is that right? 120 people in your SOI, if that's all you had, and you ran this system, that would deliver $144,000 a year, every single year. Every year. Now, the good news is, if you're smart, which I know you are, you just keep adding people. Here's the thing, once you freaking figure out that the system actually works, you know what you're gonna do? Oh my God, how many more people can I put in here? I need more people. I'm gonna go do open houses, I'm gonna door knock, I'm gonna circle prospect. I'll even knock on FISBO's doors. Mr. and Mrs. Seller, I saw the help wanted sign out in the yard. I thought I'd come and introduce myself. You know what I mean? I'll do whatever it takes to add. Why every single person I add is $1,200 a year. Every single year. If I added one person to my database today and I didn't do a deal today, what did I do to my future income? I increased it by $1,200, right? How many people could add 5 people to your database a week? How many people could add 5? Name, address, phone number, email. Did you add 5? That's $6,000 that you would add in a week. That $6,000 that you added that week will pay you $6,000 every single year. That's the $1,200 per person times 5 is 6,000, just so you guys know now. Every single year, you can take it to the bank. I did every single year. The only difference is back when I was doing it, I was getting a 6-1 rate of return. For every 6 people that I stayed in touch with using this system, I would get a transaction directly or a transaction referred.
And I just want to add kind of the opportunity, obviously, going through the system, you understand now like the baseline of everything. It is rare to have content, a content creator basically team up with somebody like Josh, who has like had the huge business, retired at 44, like run all the plays. Usually those are separate, right? That person is like, well, I know all of that. And then this content creator is like, well, I create content, but I don't necessarily know the cadence and what to say. And so like use these plans, they're putting those two together.
Yeah.
So that you don't have to do it. You can just go make that money.
We have a beautiful business marriage because of that. I mean, and this marriage is really designed around trying to help all of you guys have an actual real estate career, not just a job. All of these are the things like when during the Great Recession, by the way, I grew my business every single year. Now, here's the thing. The Great Recession was actually painful. I know it feels like you're in a painful market right now, but the Great Recession was actually painful. 40% of all sales that were done were distressed. They were short sales, foreclosures, people were losing their houses, right? And I just went all in on the database during that period of time. Each year I was doing, the first year and in the recession, I did like 92 transactions. And then by the last year of the Great Recession, which for me was 2012, I had done 108 transactions. Do you know what happened in 2013? I did 242 transactions, 108 in 2012 to 224 in 2013. That's more than double. Why? Because all of those people I have been adding to my database and staying in touch with as we moved out of that Great Recession became ready to what? Transact. Well, you know what happened in 2014? I went up to 355 transactions. So I went from 108 real transactions a year during the Great Recession, last year of the Great Recession, to 355 in 2 years. This is the system that I used. This is the best thing that you could possibly implement right now for your business to help you thrive as we move beyond the market that we're in, right? But by the way, if you're intentional about adding people to your database, you're going to find people that want to do deals when? Right now. All of these people, if you put them on that 10 days of love, which goes into an 18-month program, you now have the ability to actually get in front of a lot more people systematically than you would have had before. What's up, nice guy? Ben Beasley.
You guys all listening to this guy, the legend? And some of you guys aren't new. He's not new.
No.
I would tell you, this guy's a real estate god. And so what's coming out of his mouth is gospel.
Yeah.
Wait, I feel like I want to give you my,
Yeah, give him the mic. I'll take that call.
oh.
It's a client.
It's
I know.
fine.
Take that.
Yes.
Whatever he tells you to do, go do it. And then ask for more.
You know, back in the day when we used to have multiple offers before the Great Recession had happened. I actually presented an offer in person to Ben on his own damn property before he was even in like real estate. He and his agent were there. I knocked on the door to present the offer in person. How many of you have presented an offer to the seller in person? Got one. It's like, I don't know what's happened, but it seems like that's gone out of style, but I'm telling you, if you want to stand apart from the competition, it has to present your offer in person. I used to do it all the time and it worked like a champ. I mean, that guy, it worked so well for him, he got a freaking real estate license, it came to Keller Williams, but yeah, I mean, I think what he's trying to say is like, look, what I'm telling you is gospel, it really is, and I'm just telling you, I didn't make this stuff up because I'm not very smart. I need smart people like Kimber in my life to help make this awesome for you guys. But this was a system that I had read in the MREA book. It was the very first system that I implemented to have an actual real estate business instead of just a real estate job. And it changed my life. It changed everything. And I had to do it all. Now you just have Kimber and me to teach you, but Kimber to actually create all of this stuff. Now you can just plug it in and put it to work. So please, you guys, plug it in, put it to work. That's all I have for you today. I don't know if Kimber had anything else, but I'll let it open up. If you have any questions, I'm here to answer questions. Yeah, I did a great job.
Thank you.
Thanks for coming, guys.